Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Thank you guys for joining us again.
We had so much fun last night. We wanted to do it again.
It was a good one last night. Obviously it's a tense topic. It's huge, really huge. And so a lot of people are really concerned, obviously.
Well, I think it's a fair thing to be concerned. I don't think it's fear-mongering because this is legitimate. It's kind of a big deal, and we just want to talk about it, get it out in the open, and kind of dissect it a little bit.
Most definitely. And look at things from different angles. And we did that last night for sure, exploring things like PNAC, Project for a New American Century, which, if you're familiar with that, it was laid out in 1997 that there would have to be war with Iran and that Iran would have to come under U.S. control.
Yeah, and that they needed a new Pearl Harbor, and it was kind of a nasty thing what they did, and we ended up with 9/11, and now we have an instance where there is a certain frequency headed out, a certain planetary alignment that I personally think that they're using to kind of give momentum to a little bit of war here.
Yeah, and I've talked about that in other videos. The fact that, and a lot of you guys are probably familiar with it, the powers that be, they pay attention to astrology. They pay attention and do rituals. They're very, very much into all these type of things. They know when things are favorable as far as planetary alignments for, say, starting a new war and things along those likes.
Yeah, they do. They use the planets and their frequency to give momentum to certain wars, and this isn't the first time I've seen this. I've seen them like kind of swat the hornet's nest right when we're having a delicate alignment.
Most definitely. And so we were talking again about Project for a New American Century, and there was 7 countries to be taken out. And General Wesley Clark himself came out and verified this. This is one of the top military people in the U.S. It just came right out and said it. He admitted, and he told us that this is what they had planned. And so far, everything went to plan except for Syria, which we know is at a stalemate, sort of. Russia's held on to that. And Bashar al-Assad is still in power, so that didn't quite go well. And Iran has never gotten to start. And last night we had some real wild glitches. Mm-hmm. It showed we had like 285 people, and then it went down to like 165. And then when we mentioned it, it went back up to 285. And right now it's showing 0 watching.
Yeah, right? Yeah, you guys really aren't here. You're in the Matrix.
And, I put out like 6 videos yesterday in total, 3 of which were demonetized. And I've never seen them. They approved all 3 this morning. And I've never seen them do it in a group like that before. It's really wild, but we've talked about the censorship. But, we do have BitChute and Brightian, and there's other venues that are growing and getting more popular all the time. Okay, so on mine it shows 0. On Cindy's it shows 114 at the moment. But what we want to do is look at things from all. You're here, Eric. Eric, you're here. It's okay. You're here. You're real. You're real. Mr. Truth Seeker's there too. Diva Divina. Hello over in Arizona. We should be passing through your lovely state in probably less than a week. And all right, great to see everybody here. There we go. Now we're up to 124.
There we go.
Yeah, okay.
I must have heard you again.
There's a lot that goes on, and it's wonderful. It's a privilege to wake people up to things that they're not aware of. So again, Project for a New American Century. These were the neocons. This was Rumsfeld and Wolfowitz and Cheney and all those guys. Obviously Bush. And back in 1997, it was said that there needs to be some sort of catalyzing event that's going to get the American public behind taking out 7 countries. And they wanted to do it in 5 years. They wanted it done by 2002. And so, we obviously had that, what they called a new Pearl Harbor, and we had it. It was 9/11. So this was, predicted. This was right in their programming, and it was right out there. And now it's finally going into that phase where we probably will see that war with Iran. And let us, send our prayers and attention and intentions that it's not going to happen. And the more we can wake people up to this, the better. The more people that will be there saying, hell no, and refusing to go. And I already saw comments in there about draft, and we're going to go into so many different things here. So many different things. I saw one comment in a different chat room, and the guy said, this was planned from last year. No, it's been planned for so long. So long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been in the works for a really long time. And like I look at Vedic astrology. It's a little different than Western. And they have these two, they're not really planets. They're more like the north and south node of the moon, Rahu and Ketu. And they were right around this alignment on 9/11. And it does create kind of a frequency of fear and anger and worry.
And so, this is what Cindy was saying. So we did a card reading on the second channel that tells about this year, which is going to be a roller coaster year. This is going to be a hold on to your hats year. This is a big year. This is like 2001.
It is.
And perhaps on a bigger level as well. And if you're looking at it from a astrological standpoint, that there is that potential here. This is huge. Oh, we have a Grumpy Troll sighting. Grumpy Troll is in the house.
Hi, Grumpy Troll.
And there's so much going on. There is so much going on. I also saw a thread on Godlike Productions, which is full of people that some of them, they're right on top of things. Some of them are so deep in the matrix, they're dangerous, absolutely dangerous to all of us. And, the people that don't understand what John Ganshow just said, if they don't get it, then, God help us all. It's so easily to see what's going on here when we're awake. This is all totally planned, totally staged. And, they're just starting to go through with what they've planned for so long. And so let's see where we're going to start here. There's so much I want to talk about. Okay, let's start over here. Iran's ambassador to the United Nations today. The response to military action is military action. So, okay, we got that down now. So, what's that going to look like? That's the question.
Yeah, it's going to be a really curious one. We wanted to do an update tonight because this is a topic that I think should be followed. I'm not really into politics. I don't really take one side over the other. I try to look out for the people, and I try to look out for my family, and just sort of put everything in perspective the best I can. And I think a lot of this is going to be about us taking back our personal power, taking back our health, taking back our well-being, taking back our peace of mind. Because if we can change our consciousness as a collective, then maybe we can thwart off some pretty serious warring that they're trying to do right now. I really think that our consciousness can sway things one way or the other.
Then maybe we can thwart off
Uh-oh. Now he did it.
That's a nice voice there.
Aw, he's so sweet.
She's so cute. She is. And, that's the whole thing. We have to wake people up to what's going on. This is a no-brainer. I think it's laughable to think that in some way, shape, or form, Iran could threaten the U.S. Even just not taking into account all the super high-tech, powerful stuff we have. Just looking at the standard military that we are shown on the paper, it wouldn't be long. It'd be more challenging than Iraq, but it wouldn't be much more challenging. The big, huge thing is, what will Russia and China do? That's the big thing. And then also, look where the country is right now. This is an orchestrated perfect storm, coming straight out and saying it. And people talk about, traitors, so to speak, or people that are traitors to America. Well, let's talk about traitors to the American people. These politicians, and this includes both sides. Whether we are talking Clinton or Bush or Obama or even Trump now, and I know that's going to wrangle some people in the wrong way, as I've had some very staunch supporters of this channel get irritated as we watch the number drop to 74 watching now.
Wow. How does that happen?
They just play with everything. They play with everything. You got to recognize that these are two sides of the same coin. Even though they could look as extremely different as Obama and Trump. I mean, you can't get more different than that. But, both are playing out their roles. There was a great little video, and now we're up to 124.
Magic.
So, yeah, I know. They're watching us. They're watching this channel. They do it all the time. They give us warnings. I've had all sorts of stuff happen, crazy stuff. Hang on one second. Let's let this one go through. Crazy stuff happened, with all sorts of different things running, and other people have too. I was listening to Mr. MBB talking about losing subscribers and people getting unsubscribed. It's part of what's going on. I can't open up things on Chrome, and yet I could go to Internet Explorer and open them up and they work fine. So this is all part of the big game being played. But they don't want people waking up. It's totally socially engineered. That's what Barbara is saying. It is totally. And, there's enough half awake people, 3/4 of awake people, that recognize one side. And so they equate the Democrats with the globalists. They're both under the control of the globalists. They're both, two sides to the same coin. It's that old. It's like watching the WWE, WWF back in my day. They're playing out a script, and they've wanted to do this for the longest time.
They have, and it's like all the world truly is a stage, and they are the players, and they're the ones who put together these like soap operas. It's like a soap opera. It's really truly is a joke, and I had to stop watching like mainstream news. I think back in 2013, I was just getting so angry because they were bringing up all these things that no one could really do anything about, but you knew internally it was wrong. And it was just this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It's like they're almost trying to harm your health.
Yeah, exactly. And, the government that we have had, going back to 9/11 and before that, they are truly traitors to the American people. They're not taking care of us. They're sending our sons, daughters, husbands, wives, to go off and fight these corporate wars and to die somewhere, just all about controlling assets, resources. It's all blood money. And, Afghanistan, it's about oil and it's about poppy, opium. And same thing with Iraq and in Syria and now Iran. It's all about controlling all the resources and consolidating it. There is this Babylonian money system, this monetary system given to us, goes back to Sumerian times. And this is how they control us. And, they've hijacked the country. They've done it with the Banking Act of 1871 as well as others. It's totally, this is a corporation that we're living in. It's not a country, it's a corporation. It's crazy. And, people are bringing up some of the states. And what I was going to bring up, there was a topic that people were talking about saying, see, everybody forgot about Virginia. Everybody already forgot about the Second Amendment being pounded in Virginia. And it's true, because now we're all worried about World War III happening. And, that's part of what's going on here. It is part of in Australia too. Yeah, there's so many that are. UK. That's part of this bigger plan. So I'm going to X these off as we go. So Iran's ambassador to the United Nations, the response to military action is military action. So that says where we're heading. We had another strike, at least 6 killed in a 2-car convoy targeted in U.S. airstrike north of Baghdad. And so this is in addition to the one that killed Qasim Soleimani. And, it's probably not the last. And this airstrike reportedly left 6 dead, according to Reuters. And following initial reports claiming that a targeted vehicle was carrying senior leaders, the Popular Mobilizations Force issued a statement saying that the strike targeted a convoy of Popular Mobilization Force's medics. So we'll see as more info comes out on this. So, and I do think that we've heard that it was some, again, more top officials, that had been killed. So, it's a huge escalation is what we are seeing. And we're going to get back to that. As we see here, so increased plane traffic at U.S., Italian, and Spanish bases points to the U.S. getting ready for military confrontation. Dozens of American cargo planes have reached the U.S. bases in Rota and Morón in Spain, and one in Aviano in Italy. It's the largest military deployment at those bases since 2003 Iraq War. So, that tells us that this is kicking up again to a much higher level.
Yeah, that's a little bit bothersome. Usually I try to just downplay these things when I see them. I kind of throw at Michael, well, yeah, but they're just hyping this, they're just hyping that. And I try to really downplay it. But this time it looks a little bit different because there's follow-up now. And I don't like to see when there's follow-up stuff. That's just me. So, going back to taking back your personal control, what can we do about it? I like to try to focus on the solution. And the solution is to, put out a frequency of peace, but for yourself, love and peace for the self. And maybe that will change some timelines. Hopefully it'll change something or lessen the impact.
Okay, Grumpy Troll, is that true? Kushner was registered to vote as a female? Really? Wow. Well, Michael Michelle was, I guess, registered as something. I'm not sure what, though. It's interesting, though. These are just actors, the ones that we see for the most part. They're just doing a job and taking orders. And old writer, that's there. We forget about so many rumors and things that were leaked to us right after 2001. And that is one of the things we're going to get to. It's scary thought. So here we see, again, thousands U.S. troops have reached Kuwait, at least 3,500 U.S. tanks heading to Iraq from Kuwait. It's very clear President Trump no longer cares what Congress has to say or think. Well, it's not just him. It was Obama, and it was Bush, and it was Clinton. None of them went by the actual law and had Congress declare war. So, this is what we were talking about with the Roman Empire as well, too. There's no more checks and balances. None at all. It's not even really given lip service so much. And so it's not a good situation that we have going here. So we have a lot of military activity going on. And over here, this was something else that caused a big panic due to the spread of misinformation. Our website is experiencing high traffic volumes at this time. If you are attempting to register or verify registration, please check back later today as we are working to resolve this issue. We appreciate your patience. This is the selective service. The rumors of a draft made people go and look to check it out, and they actually crashed the selective service system. Wow, And then that brings up this question. Will there be a draft? After the United States drone strike killed Iran's top general, fears of Third World War. And isn't that Jimmy Stewart? That looks like Jimmy Stewart right there, doesn't it?
Could be.
It is. James Stewart. Yep.
Wow.
Joins inductees taking an oath as he enters the army. These are corporate wars. And, that's the bottom line here. And also that they have not been hitting their recruitment quotas.
No, these are like corporate wars, but we're just regular people. And over there in Iraq and everywhere else, they're just regular people, probably sitting and talking to their tribe like we're sitting and talking to our tribe. None of us want this war. We're not the ones who are going to benefit in any way, shape, or form, except for, I mean, as far as maybe regaining your personal power, which is a good thing. But I don't want this war. You guys don't want this war. So, it all benefits. It's all in the name of the almighty dollar, which is just terrible. I think it's horrible. And I don't want to see that. I don't want to see this. There's no reason for it. I don't see the purpose.
It's about money. It's about, resources. It's also about some things that you guys have brought up. Go back to the Sumerian stories where Enlil is tired of us, humans, because we make too much noise. We've gotten to be too many of us. We're too much of a pain in the butt. Better off that we get rid of them. It goes back to that whole line of thinking either. Also, I should say. So there's a lot of things in play here. A lot of things in play, and I think one of the biggest things is that we're waking up. We are waking up. More and more people are waking up. The C word, conspiracy. That's a word that is like, I don't put it anywhere in YouTube because, it's a trigger. And in reality, there's been legislation put through where you could be branded as a domestic terrorist. Yet, isn't it interesting that all the things that we have seen these truthers, let's say, talking about, from microwave ovens not being healthy for you? Well, they're not. Some of the nonstick cookware could cause cancer. Well, it could. Fluoride is not good for you. Well, it's not. The Nazis used it on their people in the concentration camps, and it could actually be used to kill things. One after another of all these subjects. The spraying in the skies. Now it's declassified. All of them pretty much have been right on. And, it's the same thing with what we're talking about with Project for a New American Century. It's obvious. If we look back, we go to 1871 again, and we see the prophecy, not really a prophecy because he was in the know, but basically the statement that there's going to be 3 world wars with descriptions of those 3 wars and how they're going to come about. And, this was in print before the First World War started. And we're talking about Albert Pike, so all these things are planned way, way ahead of time. And it's pretty easy to fulfill a prophecy if you control all the cards.
Right.
And you control all the timelines.
You could even write the prophecies too.
Most definitely. You could actually write those prophecies with people on the inside. So, we're going to talk about some of that as well. And let's just go over here for talking about more troop movement. We see the USS Bataan Marines 26. They're heading to the Middle East amid tensions with Iran. And so they're heading out. There's going to be more coming out now and more heading out. This is the Navy tracker, so we can see the Bataan as it's en route to the Middle East. You have the Harry S. Truman there already. And then we also have 4 groups over here in Asia. The Abraham Lincoln would probably be the quickest one. They could get over there if they wanted to, send more over as well. It does appear that it's on. And some people don't believe it's on. They think that it's still going to cool off. But no, I think we're getting too close to that timeline. And they do have timelines, so this is all part of the bigger plan.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of things about the, like Nostradamus being a 33rd degree Mason. And he's one of the ones that's written the prophecies. And that's all really curious how we look at history like that. What do we got? Oh, Albert Pike wasn't. Wait, what?
Oh, yeah. This is a question in there. Albert Pike wasn't he a Mason? Yeah. Okay. Catch these 33rd degree Masons, guys. Just catch a few of these. Albert Pike, right, which we talked about. He's the one that gave us the prophecy of 3 world wars back in 1871. 1871. So obviously he's in the know, and he was Illuminati, and he talked about in the Second World War, part of that's going to be the restoration of Israel. So it was the Illuminatis that brought the Jews back home to Israel. And some will say, well, that was God using the Illuminati to do that. But look deeper, guys. Look deeper. Think about it. Charles Darwin, who gave us evolution of the species, he was a 33rd degree Mason. Now, I do believe in evolution, but in a sense with us, I think that there's creation too, because I think things have been tinkered with. Let's take some of our religious leaders. And Joseph Smith, founder of the Mormons, 33rd degree Mason. Charles Taze Russell, founder of the Jehovah's Witnesses, 33rd degree Mason. And then we have so many other famous Masons too. Bob Hope, it's in the entertainment industry as well. President Ford was a Mason as well. I mean, we could go on and on and on. They're all intertwined, and they give us our philosophies, and a lot of the way we think about things, such as, looking at what Darwin was talking about. They give us our religions, as we look at the founders of Mormonism and also of, the Jehovah's Witnesses, and it goes back even more than that. There's a lot more there too. So they give us our religious point of view. They control us through our politics. They control us through every single way. They're all Masons. They're all part of these secret societies. And, they worship the grand architect. Well, it's because they are part of the architects of our reality. They're giving us our reality by giving us our religions, our philosophies,
Our diet, the food pyramid.
Oh, yeah. To keep us sick as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you turn it upside down, you might be healthy. But before, wasn't it like all the breads and grains and rice were all at the bottom? You're supposed to eat mostly that?
Yeah. It was completely, a backwards pyramid, an upside down pyramid. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's a lot of symbolism with the pyramid. And we talked about how the U.S. is so much like Rome. We showed the symbolism. And, D.C., London, D.C., and Vatican City they're all their own separate identities. They're separate from the countries they are in. And they're corporations. The U.S. is a corporation. You guys are traded on the stock market, basically, with your Social Security numbers. That's me too. I mean, we're all still basically living in a feudal system, and we're serfs, and they're the ladies and the lords.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to come here and bring this information and, kind of give it to you guys and let you guys decide. And here they are trying to crush us as much as possible. They make it so we can just barely stay breathing. But it's like Michael was talking about this earlier. That we probably are getting the numbers and the revenue and stuff, but they can show us how much we have, and they're probably keeping like 50%, 75%.
Oh, yeah. We had a pretty good day yesterday. And, we honestly do usually dedicate, I'd say 12 hours a day at least to doing this. And like the revenue is basically like $39. Yeah. So, that's how much now, that they're letting us have. But we know that they're still getting the views, but, they're just basically keeping 90% of the money. But that's, there's no way of checking things. I mean, we can't go check the federal government, and when Rumsfeld came out and said, hey, we got so many trillion missing, what really happened? Absolutely nothing. Nothing. No accountability.
They don't mind people missing.
John Wick asks, do we have a BitChute? We do. If you guys, if you could watch on this, well, at least there's, some revenue that comes in from this, because there's none that comes in from BitChute yet. But we are on BitChute, and we are on Brightian as well. It's all corruption at the top. It's all this huge matrix that we are living in. And so, we were talking about the draft, and so that's a hot topic, especially since they are not making their quotas even close. And we talked about 6 killed in Baghdad now in another strike. And so Bahrain calls on international community to ensure Persian Gulf security. There's these type of things can drive new alliances, and they, it's one of those things where you will get enough people ticked off, and they'll wake up eventually to the fact that it's a domino effect of nations. There's so few nations now that are not completely under the banking cabal's thumb, and Gaddafi was so vilified, and I know obviously he's not a nice guy, but one of the things was he wasn't part of the banking system. Libya wasn't part of the banking system, so he had to go. And now there's a huge escalation going on in Libya right now as well. That's another flashpoint. So I think that when this hits, it'll be like boom, boom, boom. There'll be like 3 different things going off at one time. I would not be surprised if a lot of different forces get pulled into the Libyan confrontation. Syria could go hot quickly again as well. I mean, we still have troops in Syria. Russia has troops in Syria. You got Turkey, in Syria heading to Libya, and you also have Egypt possibly heading into its neighbor Libya as well. Fascinating too, because there are prophecies about that, and Casey and Nostradamus talked about this. Nostradamus gave so many quatrains about the Third World War. He really did. He gave us a ton, and I've always been suspicious of Nostradamus because he was pro-Catholic Church, and he was always in there with the kings and the queens.
Yeah, he was. So, and he's one that if you can write the future, then and your buddies ahead of you can control the future in a way. It's just also suspicious, and so many, well, at least for myself, back before 2012 anyways, I was really believing the mainstream everything. I trusted doctors, I trusted the government, I trusted everything, and I was such a fool for doing that. And we just want to come on here and try to, and Michael's really good at connecting dots, and that's why I love him. He can read something and then boom, spit it right back out in order. And that's why I just love having him here right next to me, because he can explain to me all these little things, connect the dots, and tell me, hey, well, this is crap, this is crap, this is crap. And you know what? It's all crap.
Well, thank you. And there's a lot of crap going on, that's for sure. And things are not what they seem. They're not what they seem, but I'm so thankful so many are waking up right now. And Raven had said that, when you get down to it, the majority of Shriners and Masons are nice guys. And yeah, they are. When I lived in South Carolina, one of my better friends was a Mason, and he had events at the place that I was working at that time. He was a great guy. They were all great guys, but again, it's like the ones at the very top know what the score is. Most people don't. Same thing with the population. Most of the population doesn't have a clue what's going on. They really, really don't.
And I have an uncle who's a Mason, and he's a beautiful, beautiful man. He goes around town and he gives his time, he gives his service, he volunteers, he donates. I mean, he's just a wonderful man. So as far as Masons are concerned, I think they're all wonderful people, but like Michael said, it's the ones at the top.
As you get higher up, and then there's this willingness to be a part of something where you start to look away, slowly but surely, as maybe you see some things that are not quite right. You let them go. You kind of look away, look to the other side, even though it might feel a little bit odd or a little bit awkward or something might not feel good. And, we do this in party politics all the time. There's things that say, for instance, the Democrats do that are obviously, counterintuitive to somebody that's freedom loving and perhaps more of a libertarian mindset. And then there's stuff that the Republicans do that's the same thing, and we have to recognize that because, again, the puppet masters control both sides. So here, watch for, things that can pull a lot of other players into the mix. And as we talked about before, Erdogan, he has visions of being the person that unites all of the Islamic world behind him in a new Ottoman Empire.
Yeah, I mean, it's all just really suspicious when you start to really put it together, and you start to wake up and you look at things. You look at like your doctors, they tend to make you sick, and you look at the justice system and it's really corrupt, and you look at lawyers that, twist and break the law. It's like we're living in the upside down.
Most definitely upside down, inside out. Libyan National Army head Haftar declares jihad to confront and expel Turkish troops. So, this is a mess. This is the old cluster, that's starting to happen here. It's going to be such chaos. Just such chaos. Especially if you look at Turkey, who's part of NATO, who's been backing the Russians, getting supplied by the Russians, now doing something that the Russians don't want them to do. It's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out. It really is. It's a mess. We have a huge mess going on right now. Trump once said Obama would start Iran war to get reelected. And many people are you see on a lot of headlines, they're saying tail wagging the dog. Is this tail wagging the dog? Is this all about, impeachment? And he's just trying to create a distraction. I honestly don't think so, because I think that they've wanted to take out Iran the whole time. And I do think that you guys might not believe this, but I think that when his time, Trump, is done and he's no longer the president, if that ever comes, when we're still all alive, these two guys will be having a beer somewhere, because that's what happens all the time. We've seen Michelle Obama just hugging and kissing on George Bush, after the fact, and they're all giggling and they're laughing, and, they're all like, okay, now we can relax, guys. We don't have to play our parts anymore. We could just, be the friends that we are, or basically the partners in crime that we are in so many ways. And people forget that Trump, he was a Democrat. He was a Democrat, and he supported the Clintons. There's tons of photos of that. And then somehow he switched over to the other side. And, all these things are planned. They're all planned. Netanyahu cut short his Greece visit and is returning home because of the tensions, as Israel braces for a potential strike on Israel. And, it's part of the bigger picture, the bigger plan. And here's what a lot of people were talking about. Iran has Hezbollah sleeper cells in the U.S. ready to strike. And I already saw comments saying, it's not going to be Hezbollah. It's going to be basically ours.
Yeah, but who's controlling the headlines right now? It's like all these heads of state, they're probably all friends, just like kind of like, when your parents and you're playing good, both parents are playing good cop, bad cop, and both parents know something, but the kid knows nothing. Well, we're kind of like the little kid, and these are the parents that know everything, but they're not nice parents. They're evil parents. And, when at the end of the day, they all go to bed as friends and getting along and playing the same play that we don't know about.
Yeah, Israel and the Saudis, of course, are in league together, most definitely. And I don't want to see a young guy like Jason Manko getting drafted and sent off somewhere. It's just horrible. There's so many young kids. I have 3 kids that would all be draft age, and I don't want to see them going off somewhere. If I was of draft age, well, I guess, depending on how bad the situation gets, I wouldn't do it, because I know it's a corporate war. There's no way in the world I would go shed blood for these corporations. Why go shed blood for the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers? Why in the world would you want to go do that? Because that's what you're doing. You're not doing it for the country. You're not doing it for your neighbor down the street. And as Raven says, Hezbollah is Mossad, CIA, just like Al Qaeda and ISIS. And I don't know how people don't understand all this. I just don't understand that. Are you aware? Says you have to agree to be drafted. Well, in a draft, they just take you. You don't have a choice. Either that or get locked up in jail. It's your choice. And sometimes they could do worse than that as well.
Yeah, they can do worse. It's all very kind of like a volatile situation, and they're all in on the joke. And it's like, all we know is what we know down here. And that's why I always keep going back to taking back your personal power, your health, your own sanity, get your own ducks in order, because these guys are out for themselves. We need to kind of be out for ourselves.
Yeah, there was a great comment in there. Let me see if I can find it. Somebody said if you could take away all the leadership of the world just for a day, what would that day look like? I think it'd be beautiful, honestly. If they all had to step down, and maybe not some, like president of Costa Rica, for instance, or some other spots like that, but the real ones, say like the G7, NATO, all these, if you took them out of the mix, wow. I mean, we could have a different world in no time. Honestly, if we actually started to work together, but, again, I go back to Genesis, Tower of Babel, where it just lays it out there. They don't want that. They don't want that. They don't want us working together. They want us separated. They don't want us understanding each other. That's why the gods, or God, the gods, and we, a lot of people don't understand the bigger picture. And I plan on doing a whole series going deep into that and the origins, biblically and non-biblically. I know it's going to tick off a ton of people because you don't want to have your mindset changed as to the reality of this world, but it needs to be done so people can wake up and realize it's just another part of the manipulation going on. It doesn't mean, it's just like the either or. Oh, well, you got to be a Democrat or Republican, right? There's no other choices.
You just got to.
Well, there are, there's other parties out there. There's, so many small parties, Green Party got some votes, Libertarian Party gets some votes. What if we didn't allow Democrats and Republicans on the ticket? Wouldn't that be a beautiful world? Mm-hmm. Then we'd be forced to make some real changes. And then, what would happen is the corporations, the bankers, the military industrial complex would get behind whoever looks to be electable and would bribe them like you would never believe. And then if not bribe, then threaten. And if that didn't work, oh, well, that was such a horrible accident.
Yeah, you got to kind of look and see who has the most skin in the game, maybe, and as far as us this people are concerned, this tribe here, we just want to help each other. We just want to help you. You guys want to help us. But when you look higher up, who has what to lose? You got to kind of follow the money here.
Most definitely. Yeah, most definitely. So, this is big, because there was so much talk just shortly after 9/11, how there were suitcase nukes missing, and when the USSR broke down, there were suitcase nukes that went missing and were never recovered, and now people don't ever remember that. There's a lot of things that we don't remember, but, will that come back up again? Is this going to be the new, 9/11 that we're going to see happen? And will it be something on a much larger scale? There's been talk of a nuclear 9/11 for a long time with dirty bombs, things like that. Well, it's going to depend on the people. And, if the country rallied behind the Iranian war, maybe there wouldn't be one because maybe they wouldn't need it to do it. But if more and more people wake up and say, hey, we see what you're doing, then it probably does increase the chances for them to up the ante, so that, more and more people will be, just incised. They'll have skin in the game because, something major happens here on U.S. soil, or on U.S. territories abroad, or even allies as well, it could really get the public stirred up in the other direction. And so, false flags are a real thing. False flags are huge. Declassified info, going back to the time of JFK. They were going to do a false flag in Florida so that we could do the Cuban invasion. It's right in there. It's all declassified.
So, Monty Kunle says, where do you think those nukes went? I'm not sure. Michael, do you have any idea?
No. No, I don't think anybody knows besides those that are holding them. But yeah, there were suitcase nukes that were missing. And, it's one of those things that now it's like nobody brings it up. But back then, there was a lot of buzz about that. And, there are a lot of people saying who would draft the youth today, because so many people are just so out of shape. It's true. And not really motivated as well. But I think part of it is the fact that there's a lot of youth that recognize the system as BS. And so they don't really feel like they want to be a part of it too. I think they can see that it's all, just smoke and mirrors, and there's kind of no sense in the system. So they don't want to really get into it. They don't have that drive to work and achieve things, but then they also realize that it's all kind of a game, and so they'd rather play video games because they recognize this is a game too. Yeah. And I think there is some truth in that.
Well, yeah, and then I heard something about the kids are getting so good at video games, they were going to be recruited from the Army to somehow remotely fly certain planes. Did you hear anything like that?
Say that again?
The kids that are so good at video games, that they were going to get recruited to remotely fly planes. I didn't know if anyone else heard anything like that.
Well, I mean, look what the strikes were. The strikes were drones. So,
That's true.
I mean, and really we're heading towards that right now. I think we have so much more as far as, high-tech equipment. We have, tons of drones, tons of already, like cyborg robots going on out there. They talk about brain implants to enhance soldiers. If they talk about it, it's already done. And there's all these cybernetics too, these exoskeletons like we saw in Avatar. Those are real. And, you're going to see that, maybe not in the Iran war, but if WW3 breaks out, or even something more close to home, like a civil war that people have talked about, then you will see that. I do think we'll see that.
And Raven just said that, let's see, where is it? Last known location was off the coast of, darn it, I just lost him. North Carolina or South Carolina? Darn it, now I can't find him. I think
I'm going to bring this up while you do. So Deborah Wright says, I agree with your take on the Sumerian text. This makes all the sense for all we are seeing now. The elite are not of this world. They came here to rape our Mother Earth and leave it devastated. And, I've said that before. It's like, who would just view this planet as nothing but a resource to be abused? And if it dies, well, whatever. Well, somebody that's not from here, it would make a lot of sense. And really, when you look at things biblically as well, which a lot of people don't want to, you realize that that's part of this. That's part of this whole thing. It all goes hand in hand. And Brian Harris says we are not of this world.
Yeah, it was at the last known place was at a CIA place in North Carolina. Says thank you, Raven, for that information. And yeah, this is all really kind of weird and curious. And wherever we're at, just be just prepared enough to get by for a couple of weeks if you can, just in case anything happens. And there's some other alignments coming up, like January 9th for another push for something to happen. There's also like a moon, like a full moon, I think on the 10th. So I don't know. I'm just sort of a planet freak. I keep an eye on the planetary stuff because they're the influence. They're our vibratory influence, and everything is influenced by some type of frequency. And I think those carry the strongest. Okay,
so as far as the sleeper cells, this is out of Zero Hedge. So it says this is because Iran is known to have placed Hezbollah terrorist sleeper cells throughout not just Europe but the United States too. Last year, the criminal prosecution and conviction in New York of the Hezbollah operative Ali Karani revealed that the terror outfit already has plotted to attack U.S. interests inside the country and is ready to activate if it considers the existence of either Hezbollah or Iran to be at stake. Following the arrest of Karani and another Hezbollah operative named Samir el-Debek, the U.S. intelligence community reversed its belief that Hezbollah was unlikely to attempt attacks within the U.S. So, they're basically telling us that they are here. And as Raven said, we know, what the bigger picture is here. And so this is going into how Iran will respond. And this is from Zero Hedge. And I don't think they got this right because they're talking about not really a major escalation. Iran knows they would lose the war. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Unless they knew Russia and China would immediately attack and immediately strike. Like say if we attack Iran, immediately China goes and invades Taiwan. That would be something that would really change everything really rapidly.
Yeah, that sounds kind of scary to me. I don't like the sounds of that. But here we go with this eclipse thing, and that's coming up. Oh,
okay.
Sorry, I blew it.
No, it's okay. I'm going to finish all the news before we delve into some of the other esoteric stuff. So Trump's no stupid wars doctrine faces the biggest test. Because he said he doesn't want any more Mideast wars, but yet he's also increased military spending more than anybody ever. We have the biggest military budget ever. When you listen to him talk, he said, we had a great conference over in Sweden. They're going to increase military spending by 3.5%. We had a great meeting and the Netherlands, they're going to increase it by 4.5. It's all about military spending because he is the puppet of the military industrial complex. And so that's who he's really working for here, and that's why he wants that. Now we see Bernie Sanders and Kahana are introducing legislation to block funding for a war with Iran. And yeah, it is unconstitutional for a president to decide we have to go to war without having Congress approve it. So Bernie Sanders and Ro Khanna on Friday introduced legislation that would block funding for any offensive military force in or against Iran without prior congressional authorization. And Rand Paul spoke out about this as well. And that's why I liked both Rand and Ron Paul. I know they're not perfect. They're far from perfect. But, if you have a feasible choice, even the slightest choice of somebody getting in there that would actually pull our military personnel back into the country and focus on just fixing everything that's wrong with the country instead of all these endless wars, then I would be for that. Because, we have a lot of issues going on here and just so much money. 52% of the discretionary budget was on the military. 48% was for everything else. 52-48. That is freaking crazy.
You know what I'm seeing in this chat, I've seen some other people think differently, but they seem to be kind of awake to Trump and all the ones before him, understanding that he is one and the same. He's like, two wings of the same dirty bird. I mean, it's all the same stuff, and it just goes on and on and on, and it's just making me sick. But the only reason I'm watching this is because this is kind of a serious issue. Otherwise, I wouldn't be watching any of this.
Yeah. And I think so Jeffrey Parks says it's all in God's hands now. In my point of view, it's in our hands, because I think it's part of free will that we have to be the ones to initiate change, because the way I view it like creator, God, source, the real God. It's a free will universe, and that's why we have evil, because it's a free will universe. That's why we have greed, and that's why we have all all these negative things, because it is a free will universe. So it's up to us to manifest the change. And so we have to show that we're ready for this. If there was an advanced benevolent society watching us, they would say, wow, they are really screwed up. These are people with kindergarten mentality, that they got to be quarantined. There's no way we want them spreading out, It's true.
We are like little children. We are, we're kind of rotten, but that's why we need to go within and, kind of keep our own side of the street clean. Go within, take your own power back. Don't look externally for a bunch of things like they taught us to do in school. They taught us to look outside ourselves for the answer. The answer lies within. It always has, it always will. And I think that's what's going to help get us out of this.
Yeah, I saw a couple comments on Jesus, and this is what I'm going to do some videos on. He said greater things you would do than him. Mm-hmm. He said, you've seen all these miracles, and I tell you, greater things you will do. So if that's possible, then that doesn't mean that we're really limited beings. That means we have a lot of freaking power within us. He also said the kingdom of heaven, he said, don't look here, don't look there. Right. It's inside you. It's like, wake up. It's all about what you want to manifest. And so when we let them just steer us down war after war, killing so many innocent people, and I don't think it hits home until the blood is on your own soil. People just don't get it. They don't look at the faces of the kids starving in Yemen, of the homeless ones in Syria, of the parents holding the dead, lifeless bodies of their kids after another drone attack. When that happens in the U.S., that'll change things really quick. So if that was us, if we were born over there, what would our opinion of the U.S. be? Right. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. And I had somebody comment today, saying well, you grew up in the U.S., you had it pretty comfy, you don't seem to appreciate your country. It's not that I don't appreciate the country, sure, it's the same thing with people in Rome. The Roman citizens had it pretty damn good. They had it a lot better than the Gauls when the Romans, went and invaded Gaul and started exterminating people, or, when they went up to Britain, or when they were in Egypt, wherever it was that the Roman Empire went, the people had to submit. And, again, everybody had to bow the knee to Caesar. Or, die by the sword if you didn't. It's your choice. But, the people in those countries, they felt it and they suffered. And whereas the citizens of Rome, they went along with it because their lives were fairly good. Well, that's how it's been in the U.S. and in Europe as well. But it's starting to change as we see U.S. life expectancy drop. The standard of living has dropped. There's virtually no more middle class anymore. It's all changing. It's falling apart just like Rome.
And someone asks in here, Diva asks, how do we get Trump to look within, Cindy? It's not about that. He's probably not going to. That's the thing. None of these guys are going to look within. That's why it's left to us to look within. That's why it's going to be left to us to, take over our own health, take over our own well-being. We have to look within and stop looking outside of ourselves for answer. And if you look for Trump for answers, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get more of the same. And it's just going to keep going on and on and on. And, that's my answer to this whole mess. And it's a big mess, is that we all need to go within and take personal responsibility for ourselves, because what else are you going to do? We can't call him up. He's not going to change his mind. He's not going to do anything. But we're not so helpless if we go within.
And I hate big government. Absolutely. I fear big government. I don't want a bigger government at all. I think our government is 100 times, 1,000 times what it should be. It's ridiculous, completely ridiculous. But I got to agree with Bernie Sanders here. He said, at a time when we face the urgent need to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, if you've, been abroad and seen some of the cities of the world, they look so organized and clean in many places. And, we have a mess here to build the housing we desperately need. Yeah, we got homeless tent cities all throughout California and other areas as well to address the existential crisis of climate change, whether we think it's, carbon induced by humans, which, most of us don't here. Regardless, we definitely have earth changes. We can't deny that. And many of us are suspicious about just how much is actually still human induced, not necessarily by carbon emissions, but other reasons. We got to get our priorities right. We have to invest in the needs of the American people, not spend trillions on more endless wars. I would rather just, honestly, I would rather see us pull back all our troops, send them back to their own home states, and dissolve the federal government. That sounds radical, but I think that Big Brother is the greatest threat to our freedoms, and Big Brother is killing millions across the globe. And I honestly don't think that we would necessarily be immediately invaded. We could still have treaties between the states for mutual defense, not offense. As we had talked about, the U.S. has been in wars like 96% of the time since it was founded. It's just incredible. People don't realize this. They really don't understand this, and it's just been used as a tool of these, the banking cabal.
We just need to get rid of Big Brother, and if there is a great big, what is that, a CME or something that wipes out all the technology, I'd be happy.
Yeah, in many ways, and maybe that would be God, prime creator, source, saying, okay, this is the only way we could do it. We got to send you back to the Stone Age once again. And there was comments about the gods and as well. If you followed a lot of the videos, I do think that there's most definitely a non-human component to all this. But maybe it is human, but not Homo sapiens as well. We found a lot of interesting skulls around the globe. Fears of World War III grow after Donald Trump airstrike kills Iranian general. So now it's escalated to that point. Because again, what's going to happen with Russia and China? And the U.S. stock market takes a dive as defense and oil shares soar after Soleimani's killing. So again, military-industrial complex, oil shares soar as well as defense soars. There is tremendous money in war. The bankers lend the money. They make the interest. To both sides, they have their family members die and kill and experience all the horrors and the suffering of war, and it lines the pockets of the bankers and the military-industrial complex.
And they just get more and more money. That's all they get. As long as they have all this wonderful technology, they get more and more money.
Most definitely. And somebody said we're out of our mind and you want to take all of our tech. No. We could use technology for good. But how is it that every time there's a new technology, it's always like, whoa, how can we apply this to the military?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Let's apply it to kill more people. That seems to be the only good that this tech is for. How can we use it to control human beings? That's the only good this tech is for. I don't want this tech.
Exactly. And there most definitely could be good tech that would make our lives wonderful. Mm-hmm. And, it probably wouldn't be much so that none of us would have to actually work to actually produce things. It could be all, automated and have a society where we bartered and traded. And, we're able to go about and pursue the things that we love. Some of us might want to pursue careers in music, for instance, and might be really gifted. Well, then, do that. And then it's called contributionism. And Michael Tellinger has done something called Ubuntu, which is all about contributionism. And there's towns all across the country and across the world that are doing this independently of the people in the matrix. And we need something like that going to a much higher degree.
Yeah, I think that Ubuntu is such a beautiful thing. I've watched him, and it's about people giving their absolute best talent, and even just like a few hours a week, not for very long, And then these little towns have the best of the best because the people want to work there. They have a very high morale. They want to do a good job. They want to serve their community. And the rest of the time, they're practicing whatever they want to practice. I would love to see a world like that. To me, that would be like heaven on earth.
Well, I think that's what we're going to have at the end, after it's all, said and done. And so let's go in reverse here now. Okay, so we're going to go to your X marks the spot.
Okay.
All right. Anything you want to say about it?
Not now.
Okay. When I saw this, it just hit me, and we talked about this before. I've talked about it, and I stick by it. I mean, I was living in Sarasota and at the time, and I remember standing out in the backyard and, watching the eclipse happen and feeling like this is really big. This is really big. And it is big. The first eclipse comes in August 21st, 2017. The next one is going to be April 8th, 2024. And, X marks the spot. There's so much we could see with this. So much we could see going on here. I think this, people would take this as being prophecy, and does it spell the end of the U.S. as we know it? And that's what, in my gut, it means to me. I think it is. I think it's basically saying to us, it's going to be, perhaps we could view it as payment for sins. Or you could view it as karmic indebtedness coming to fruition. Because the U.S. has been used, to be the military and police force of this NWO. And here we see the two eclipses crossing, and, curiously enough, they cross right over the New Madrid earthquake zone. And we see up there in Oregon, that's Cascadia. So, I'm looking at earthquake zones there, and then down on the other end over there in South Carolina, that's going right through Charleston, which is also another major fault. And if we look at the lower leg of the April 8th, 2024, one that goes through Mexico, a very, very active zone. There's tons of big earthquakes that happen over in that area, and we had a 8.3 over there before, if you guys remember, and that actually broke a plate. That broke a freaking plate, tectonic plate, so, and then now it's going through an area that there is some fracking in as well through Texas there on its way to the New Madrid. And then it goes through the St. Lawrence River, which again is another earthquake zone people aren't necessarily so aware of. So I'm wondering if, come 2024, we're going to have what Edgar Cayce talked about with the Gulf of Mexico joining up with the Great Lakes. And we're going to have the big quakes come, the Cascadian quake and the New Madrid let go, and probably also will end up triggering a big one down in Charleston as well.
I know I was all the way over in Nevada when the first one came through. And, I don't know about you guys, but I felt the heaviest energy shift. I mean, my body, everything tingled, and I had chills from head to toe, and they weren't good chills either. It did not feel good. It didn't seem like anything very positive just happened. I don't know what happened that day, but this next one, when it does make the X, I don't know, I'm going to be somewhere safe.
And Susan Donahoe says, be ascension ready. And I agree. I think we have to guard our vibrations carefully, guard our heart, guard our intentions. We have to fight for humanity. And so how do we do it? And again, I go to the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita in the Mahabharata with Krishna talking to Arjuna. And, I share with you guys, I believe in Christ consciousness. I believe in the Christ spirit, and I think we're all supposed to have that indwell in us. Yeah, to me, it's not about blood sacrifice. To me, that doesn't necessarily change you. It's about changing your vibration and being more Christ-like. And same thing when I first read the Mahabharata, to me, it struck me to be extremely Christ-like again, and with intent. But what do we do when we're faced with such evils and such atrocities? We have to speak up. We have to speak up. We have to do our part. even if it ends up being concentration camps, and things like that, you still got to do your part. You got to speak up and try to change. I think that we are all eternal spirits, so I feel like I've been here before. I have some memories of past lives, and so I kind of know I've been here before, and I know consciousness doesn't end with the body. I've had enough experience through meditation and different things that, to me, I have no doubt about it at all, zero doubt. But I do think that we come in with a purpose, and many of us are awakened, and we're what we would call either star seeds or light workers. There's the term wanderers as well. The Law of One talks about wanderers coming in at this time to try to help in this transition, because the Dark Age is ending. The Kali Yuga is ending. When you look at it biblically, it ends. It ends. There's Armageddon, Judgment, Day, and etc. But then there's a new heaven and a new earth. And so that's where we're going. If you look at a lot of the prophecies, whether we're looking at the Hopi prophecies, with the Rainbow Warriors, well, that's us. We're the Rainbow Warriors. That's who we are. We're here, and we're rainbow because we're from every nationality, every creed. I don't care what somebody's background is, because we're all spirit, we're all soul, we're all energy, we're all consciousness. This is just a vehicle. Some of us are driving Chevys, some of us are driving Hondas, some of us are driving Hyundais, some Mercedes. Whatever, it doesn't change the person. That it's just a vehicle for consciousness. And so we're here to basically expose the system. This is why we're here. We have to shed light on the system, so people understand what's really going on, and so that we won't be divided anymore, so we could go into more of a unity consciousness, and we could agree that there's beauty in diversity. There's power in diversity. If we were all exactly the same, it'd be a pretty boring world. If all you could ever have was vanilla ice cream, you would be dying for chocolate,
I think so. You would, absolutely. And, that's another big part of having you guys here tonight and on the channel and keeping this channel going, is to keep waking people up, to keep pointing out how the system is crap, and how all of this is just a show, and really how it does lie within each one of us. If we can just help heal ourselves, then we can reach out and help heal each other, and then we can help heal the planet. And that's how that domino effect should go. It shouldn't be tyranny, dominoing down upon us. We should be the ones starting the love, and then let that domino to each other, let that domino to the earth. I think that's how it needs to go. And there's a totally different way of doing that, and they've given us the wrong directions for this.
And it's interesting too, because I don't think anything is necessarily set in stone. I think we have free will, and so I think we can change outcomes. And I would not be surprised at all if a lot of the prophecies we get were planted, by the dark side. These powers that be that want to manifest a dark outcome and keep us in slavery and bondage. And it's interesting because, Edgar Cayce in a lot of his readings even said, this could happen or that could happen. One of the things that was curious is he actually said, out of Russia will come hope. And there's been others that have echoed that. Very curious, that they would suggest that, because obviously Russia's made to be the boogeyman, in the United States, that to fear. And again, I've gotten into conversations with people, and they say, you don't like capitalism? Well, you must be communist. And when I would mention to them, well, Christ was a communist. Oh, no, he wasn't. Well, he was, he was an Essene. He lived in a communal setting. They had no personal belongings. He even told the son of the rich man, if you really want to join me, go sell all your belongings and come follow me. And he couldn't do it because he was the son of a rich man, big inheritance, had a luxurious life. So it made him very depressed. But, there can be, and there is light in the darkness without a doubt. And so Cayce did talk about World War III, and also curiously, like some of the timings, things to look for, Egypt and Libya. And Egypt may be going into Libya very shortly, as Turkey is sending troops into Libya. Libya is a real possible fuel point, where that could be set on fire here. to lead to a bigger conflagration. And so Casey talked about World War III. And I'm bringing this up too because there was one young gentleman who was in the chat room, either not last night, but the night before. And he said, "What are you talking about prophecy? You don't believe in prophecy," because I wasn't necessarily taking a biblical prophecy point of view on things. And, there can only be biblical prophecy. There's no other prophecy according to his mindset. But there are. I mean, there's tons of people. There's Nostradamus. There's, we go on and on. Baba Vanga. We talked about Joe, I forget his name now, that saw the Garlock Fault going and causing the San Andreas to go, way back in the 1930s. I did a couple videos on him as well. So I thought that was really curious. There's tons of prophecies from all over, and not just biblical. And the thing is, a lot better detail in many of them, not so vague. And I'm going to go into biblical prophecies in detail, really pick them apart, so that people could really start to understand things a little bit better too. And so, he did talk about that, but he talked about beautiful things as well. He did say it would start in the Persian Gulf, and so we know what's going on with Iran. Mm-hmm. And, there's a lot to this, but I don't think it's set in stone. And this is Baba Vanga, Prophecies About World War III. And, she was off in her timing, but we'll see if what she says comes to pass. The Hopi, Prophecies About World War III as well. And the cobwebs in the sky, so are those the geoengineering that we're seeing? There's so much. And then Nostradamus has quatrain after quatrain after quatrain about World War III. Tons of quatrains about World War III. And many people forget about George Washington's vision and prophecy about America, which it's in the Library of Congress. This is not a joke. It's actually there. It's recorded in the Library of Congress. And in that, he sees an invasion of the United States. And so other people have seen it too, and I've had multiple dreams and visions about it going back to being a teenager, that we would be invaded. And what was curious is when I dreamed about this, I was living in Connecticut, and in my dreams, I was in the southeast. And specifically, I remember hearing Florida, which we are heading that way in about a week or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are. So, I was thinking your dreams weren't going to come true either, but you know what? I don't know. We're headed back that way. Things could happen. And Susan in here, Susan is saying that, her hubby and son seem to think she's gone nuts. No, don't worry. You're not nuts. You're with us. We're completely fine. Really, it's true. And I've heard of other people, saying that their family thinks that they've gone nuts, and no, we're not. We're actually the star seeds who have been, and that's what we are. We're exactly that. We're just seeds, and there's probably one of us in each family. So when things do go down, we are going to be able to explain what's happening. As far as prophecy goes, I think Edgar Casey's probably my favorite, because he actually had a lot to lose, by being the sleeping prophet, because he was a prominent member of his church. So after he woke up and he would ask his friends or family, whoever was around him, what he said, and it would be, a lot of the information was actually against his Bible belief system, and he would just cringe, and he didn't like what he said because it just went against the Bible. So I do like Edgar Casey. He's probably my favorite, and I think he's probably the most legitimate one. And he does have the ARE, which is full of cures for all kinds of things that Edgar Casey, gave cures to a lot of people. He would go to sleep, go to the person and basically write out the cure for them. And then they would have it checked by a doctor, and that was that. It was pretty awesome.
Natural cures as well. So I put a link to our Discord. Everybody is welcome to go there anytime and just discuss stuff. I know a lot of our, I think he was Baptist Swift. A lot of our family members have already been there. So, go ahead and check it out. And if you feel like it, join us over in Discord as well. And yeah, you're right, Tammy. But I think the day's coming on this soil that we won't be able to speak out. If the powers that be get their way. So we have to speak out now while we have a chance. Definitely, this is what we really, really need. And Casey was interesting. Nostradamus, like we said, George Washington with his vision. And it's eerie, because he sees the United States completely invaded. And it lasts a while, but we end up repelling the invasion according to his prophecy. So, and then if you look at it, there are thousands of people that have had dreams and visions of World War III. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people have. And Monty's right. Constantine was in 300s. So, the Council of Nicaea was 325 AD. Constantine and his bishops put together the official Catholic religion, out of which all the other Christian traditions come. They have differences here and there, but, without a doubt, the same, it came out of the books that he ordained, the 66 books of the Bible. And so when there was over 200 Gospels, a different picture comes out because, to me, it's all about, we need to emulate Christ's consciousness, the way he was, heart-centered. And that's not what we have. And Washington, of course, he was a 33rd degree Mason as well. So perhaps this plan of 3 world wars didn't originate in 1871. Maybe it originated back in 1776 or even earlier, as well. Ray, good to see you, brother. Says Moses changed everything to monotheistic. And there's thought that Moses was Akhenaten. And I've had some really good lines of thought that I'm going to put down in videos. And I just didn't want to blow people away because there's so much in there to talk about. Most definitely, there's what we have gotten is completely distorted, absolutely distorted. But, the bottom line is we have great power and we can change things. And right now it's all about waking up the masses, because I do think they want World War III, and I think they want a civil war going on inside the U.S. at the same time.
Yeah, they want to take out as many as possible. And, I'm really glad I see in here too, you guys don't worry about what other people think. That's really good. I'm glad you've made it to that point, because I did worry about what other people thought for a really long time. I mean, a really long time, to the point it almost killed me. Literally killed me. At some point we just really have to say, screw it. Don't care what you think. Don't care what you say. And just go ahead and move forward with your thoughts, your feelings, and most importantly, the information you have to help wake other people up. We really got to get the word out, because I don't know, it looks like the window is closing, as much as I don't want to admit it. Things are moving kind of fast. So, the more we can wake up, the safer we're all going to be, and I think maybe that's one of my subconscious reasons for wanting to wake people up, is because I've been hurt really, really bad by people who are asleep, still asleep. So the more people who know what's going on, the safer it makes me and my children.
Exactly. Do you guys, everybody's afraid of 666, right? But
a lot of people are, yeah.
Yeah, you guys have heard of 666, right? Well, does it make you nervous that there's 66 books in the Bible?
Right.
And, 6 is the number of man. It's gematria, there's so many different things here. So maybe the Bible we have, the 66 books, is completely distorted with a completely mixed up, a mixed up view of things. And, that's part of this whole thing. There's truth everywhere we look, but then there's distortion and lies. It's just the same things we see, on CNN and MSNBC and Fox. Same old stuff, they cover it, but they have a slant. They have a spin.
They do. They do have the truth out there, but it's just it's written in the wrong context or the wrong way, which kind of leaves us in the dark, especially if we're going to believe the truth, But tonight it looks like it's been a really beautiful, wide awake crowd, which is getting more and more awake by the minute. We used to have a few people in here and there that were really hardcore Bible, but it seems like people are just really waking up, and that's just, it warms my heart, that people can look at different belief systems and not get angry at each other.
Exactly. And that's beautiful. That means we're actually making progress. We're working towards things. We're learning from each other and growing. And, take a look at this, guys. Do you see anything in there? No. Cindy did right off the bat. Do you guys see anything in that fire?
It's terrible. That thing was going to crawl out of the picture and take my chair. Oh my God. It just jumped right out from... Yeah, that's really, really horrible. It's just such a creepy little guy. I know plenty of people are going to see it. And there's more than one face in there too. Whoops, I just blew it again. I'm really bad at surprises.
Yeah, so I mean that's a pretty evil looking face there. It's got like a big old little smile on. And this is Australia again, so please do go ahead and pray for Australia. And there was one more thing I have to bring up over here. So this is the mother of one of our really dear family members, and so many of you guys might know Netsaya. So this is Netsaya's mom. Please pray for her. Send your energy to her. She's going through kidney problems that can be life-threatening right now. And Netsaya is most definitely a brother to me, and me and Cindy both love him dearly.
Dearly love you, Netsaya, brother. Love you. Sending your mom a ton of energy.
Yeah, he's a great soul. This man is just full of light and life and positivity. And, I'm sure his mom is exactly the same. So I do want you guys to please send positive energy for her recovery. And, we can do this. I mean, my God, I've seen so many quote unquote miracles in my practice alone. Things that, I've had so many people that have been told by their doctors there's no hope. And then, we've been able to more than give them hope, get rid of the whole issue.
Well, we had your mom, not to bring up sore subjects, but she was in hospice, and we sat there, we ran energy on her, and she went back the following Tuesday. And there is something to the energy work. And, Michael he's totally 2 tumors I've had, next to my brain, which require surgery. He's gotten rid of both of them. I don't know how, one was distance, one was, when we were together, but when it was distance, like the whole side of my head heated up. It was so weird. And it pulsed red for like an hour after he was done working on it. So sometimes I think the distance work is actually better. It's so crazy. But yeah, there's a lot of things we can do with the healing work. And not only that, it seems to help you make better decisions when it comes to self-healing. Like if you're in a rut, you're stuck, you're not feeling well, you're just got low energy, whatever. There's things that healing can do for you that help open your own avenues in your brain. So you have more of an intuitive feeling of how to fix yourself.
Yeah, so, this is the time of a lot of things, but as somebody said in the chat room, it is also the time of miracles. Because our reality is changing, our consciousness is changing, we're getting more powerful. And that's really why we have all the other stuff going on, is the fact that humanity is clawing its way out of the dark age and into a new golden age. But the powers that be don't want to let go, and they want to maintain their grasp. But they're not going to win, and that's the bottom line. And we are going to change this planet, and we're going to go into a beautiful time of prosperity and peace. we just have a great cleansing that's underway right now. And so we need to just support ourselves through this time. So, my friends, as always, thank you for joining us. If so inclined, we would love to have you join us over on Patreon as well. Keep the channel going in these times of obvious censorship. And also on Ko-Fi. And make sure you are subscribed to EE Arts, the second channel. As always, my friends, stay prepared out there. Keep your head up, even no matter what happens. You know, tomorrow's headlines may make today's look like a walk in the park. But, you know, we're in this together. We need to pull together. That's the bottom line. And ultimately, it's a new world that's going to be dawning.
God bless and namaste.
Namaste.